Hello, Beat Baseball World. Welcome back to the Beat Ball Blues Show after a week off. A little short vacay, which is something that will probably happen a little more often. My phone's talking. I don't know why, because it's on mute. Anyway, we are back. Got my co-host with me, my brother in life, my fellow man in all rainbowness, Seth Bam Bam Clark. Welcome back, said dog.
Neil Dog, how's it going? I'm mellow today. Saturday morning, mellow. Low key, big week.
It's weird for me in a way when we now recording this show, because I used to always do the show live on a Sunday night. And then once we started recording it, a lot of times we've been recording it in the morning, and I want to come on and say, "Good morning, Beat Baseball." but I don't post the show still until Sunday night. So you never know when people are going to be listening to. I'm sitting here drinking coffee. It's like it feels like a morning show. But
good morning, noon, or night, wherever you happen to be.
Who is that? Monty the Music Man? Is that my phone?
No, that's
your phone.
That's mine. I'm sorry.
We have the same exact ring. I was like, because I always unplug my landline so that it won't do that. But I was like, wow, because I have headphones on, so I would have heard it through the mic anyways, probably. But I don't know. I was tripping out. It's like, man, everything's been going weird. My iPhone starts talking as soon as we start recording. And I think I hear my phone ringing. It's like, man, this is this.
I got all my phones sitting right next to me, so I was just turning down my cell phone as we started to get on the show, so I don't want my Dice World notifications coming through or anything like that. And then, but I didn't even think about the big phone. So, well, what's up, Neil Dog? Did you get out there and vote yet, Neil Dog? Have you done your civic duty?
I have not gone out for early voting, but I was thinking today that I should investigate that. Like, I don't know if the place where the place that I normally do vote at is a five-minute walk from my house, but I don't know.
Right.
I haven't investigated enough to know if like all the places do early voting, or if I have to go somewhere specific. Like I know, like.
Yeah.
Where the secretary, we haven't brought you in yet. You calm down over there. We'll get you.
Calm down. You're not here.
I was going to tell you about your voting, dude. Whenever you go to early voting, it's a different place.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's usually one per county.
Voting is a state-based thing, so all states have different rules. So
yeah, that's probably true.
I did hear all the last week. Not all early voting places were opened in California, but I do believe as of like today or tomorrow they are all open. I don't know where you need to go vote, but
yeah. Well, I was going to, cause today when we're recording, it's Saturday. I was going to investigate once we got done if I could go to like my normal place and vote early, and if I can, I would like to go knock it out. Yeah.
All right.
I have not investigated that yet, but I will be on it. I know my man Frank Porter, who does the music for the show, was on with us in Jeopardy. He already voted. I saw on Facebook the other day. He was out there, stood in line in the rain and everything to get his vote in. Let's just hope he voted right.
Yeah, right.
But that's all I'll say on that. Get back to our show going forward. We're still going to be bringing in teams. We're still going to be diving into some heavy subjects. We got a big one that we're starting to work on now coming up. It'll go be heavy. But there are also going to be times where we're just going to sit down with someone from the league and get to know them a little bit. And that's what we're doing this week as we bring in Hall of Famer, Quinn Award winner, and one of the best pitchers that's ever been in the game, Mr. Timothy R. Hibner. Welcome in, Timmy.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. Go ahead.
Oh, nothing. I said I wish I had my little sound effects machine with the little claps. Or whatever. But go ahead.
Might have to get Frank to start mixing in crowd noise when we introduce people.
Little sound songs.
My first question that hit me last night might be the most important question because I've always known it to be there and I don't know what it's for. What is the R in Timothy R. Hibner?
Robert.
Timothy Robert. How Southern white is that? Timothy Robert.
I know,
Hibner.
isn't it? And I really didn't realize what was going on until I got a little bit older. I said, I should have been born in Texas. They could have called me Timbo.
Were you named after Robert E. Lee?
No. My grandfather. It was my grandfather's name, Robert.
All right.
Is Robert E. Lee, is his real name Timothy Robert? Is that why you asked that? Or
No,
I'm asking Seth. Why would you think it's after Robert E. Lee? Just because you love Robert E. Lee?
I do like Robert E. Lee. I do think he was a great general. No, just the South, him, just whatever. Some people I know like somebody named Robert Lee something, So
I told you there is no time. Do you know that line, Timmy? Timmy, you're a movie junkie. The line I just broke it. I told you there is no time.
No, I guess I missed that one.
Yeah, no, Gettysburg was not like Gettysburg was like a TNT movie.
I know.
So,
hey, remember the movie Gettysburg from like 30 years ago, Timmy? No, he's from the South. That they don't watch that stuff in the South. That was banned in the South.
I actually from northern Missouri. Missouri. Did you know that?
I did not know you were from northern Missouri.
I knew you're from Missouri. I didn't know you'd go northern.
I'm about 20 miles from Iowa, or so. I mean, it's close to the Iowa line. And in Missouri, up until just a few years ago, since it was cut in half, there's a highway between St. Louis and Kansas City. It's I-70. And in Missouri, for the championship, the high school championship, they'd have a blue-gray game.
A what?
A what? Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Blue-gray game.
Blue-gray game. Yeah.
Good.
I just heard blue baby.
Right.
I'll try to be a little bit more articulate.
I think it was a Zoom thing. It
was a Zoom thing. Yeah, it was definitely a Zoom thing. It wasn't you. But yeah, blue-gray game in Missouri. I guess that kind of mimics Missouri's position during the Civil War.
Yeah, it was pretty tumultuous.
Well, in the movie Gettysburg, you got Martin Sheen played Robert E. Lee, and who Sam Elliott was in there. He played somebody big. You would know better.
I gotta watch it now. Now that you mentioned that, I gotta go see that.
General James Longstreet.
You'll need a whole weekend. It's 2 parts. Each one's 3 hours.
It is not 3 hours. The movie's 3 hours. The movie's like 3 hours.
You know what? I'm mixing it with our other favorite, Lonesome Dove.
Yeah. It's not.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that's 6 hours.
I'll be having some respect with my whiskey. That's my favorite line. I'll be having some respect with my whiskey.
Can't stand a surly bartender.
That's right.
Don't even get us started on Gus McCrae quotes. Girls.
Yeah.
All right, Timmy, getting into beep ball.
All right, let's go.
I know you've had like 2 stretches of beep ball. You first came on and were the pitcher for Oklahoma City through the early and mid 80s. Then you were gone at some point, and then Harry was their pitcher, and you came back at some point in the 90s and were there until the end. When did you get into the sport? When did you leave? What got you back? What's your story?
Well, the first time I was in was during when Wheaties was doing all the
sponsoring.
Stuff. Yeah, all the sponsoring for the World Series. And in the 80s, 2 years was Wheaties, and
Right.
82 is when I first started. And most of the guys that was there at that time, I say most of them, that an awful lot of the guys that were there at that time was in their, early 40s. They were older. They had done a lot of different things, wanted to try this game of beat baseball out. And Benny's brother-in-law,
Benny
Delbert,
Meyer, for the audience, Benny Meyer.
Mm-hmm. Benny Meyer's brother-in-law, Delbert Dawes, was pitching to him, and I worked for Delbert. And Delbert says one day at work, he says, "Hey, what are you doing this Saturday?" And I said, "I have nothing, I guess." He goes, "How close are you?"
Hold on a second. Set dog.
What?
You can't kill that.
I'm trying to kill it at the moment. So sorry about that.
All right. Are you good?
So
it's done.
All
right. So anyway, Delbert calls me out for a Saturday because he was running short on help, and it just kind of stuck with me. It was very close to where I was living. The league was maybe a quarter mile away, and I could just drive over there on a Saturday and we could practice. And I got to know Benny and some of the guys. Found out Benny worked right across the street from me, and I'd go over and have lunch with Benny, and we'd talk ball, and we'd have lunch every day over at the VA. He was a darkroom tech. He was developing films in a darkroom, and he had a regular job, and I don't know. It just became part of my life, and I raised my kids in it. It was just something that we did. And when you said I left, I don't know if that's a good terminology or not. I really didn't want to leave, but we went to Missouri, and I had a job in Missouri, and I was more of a manager, and the boss there didn't want to part with my time. So I had to carry a pager in case something happened on with the municipal utilities electrical system. And I would go into Kansas City and actually help the Kansas City team out as much as I could, but they just never did take off. They had a team which kind of actually played in Wichita once, and I tried to train the pitcher, but he kept complaining that his back hurt or this happened or that happened. And they finally talked me into going to Wichita one time and playing. And just the look on Benny's face from me being on a different team just kind of, made me feel bad. And I kind of stepped off and told the Kansas City team they needed to step up and do it on their own. And then shortly after that, I come back to Oklahoma and started playing again here in Oklahoma.
Did Benny Ledger give you the puppy eyes? Playing over there?
I don't think Benny has puppy eyes. It more like daggers. It's like you said you couldn't pitch to us. Why are you pitching to them?
All right.
Something I know a little bit about dagger eyes, I think.
Yeah, right.
How long, because you said that Benny's brother-in-law was the pitcher, how long before you became the pitcher with that original group?
I think about 2 years. I think I caught from for about 2 years. I don't know. I'm not real good with dates and times. I can say that, a couple of years was with Albert pitching and I was catching. And then Albert's he was like, I don't know, in his 60s or so. And he got hit a couple of times and he become the coach. And there was me and another guy named Gary Lasser, and both of us pitched back and forth. And then Gary, he kind of stepped out and do you remember Big Ted Merriman?
Oh yeah. Teddy Bear.
Yeah. Big Ted, his son started catching for me, and then I become the head coach. And we had a team meeting one time, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to run your show for you. If you guys want you just tell me what you want and I'll help you with it. Are we going to be recreational or are we going to be competitive? And they said, what do you mean competitive? Well, I'll push you a little harder if you want to be competitive and we'll win a few more. And they went off and they had this little confab over the corner. And then they come back and the president of the organization, because it was basically like any club that you would be in, there was a president, a vice president, and manager, this and that, treasurer, and all that. And the coach didn't participate in that side of the business. And they come back. The president was Daryl Birch, and he says, "We've all had a vote." He says, "Recreational," and you said recreational's for fun, right? I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We're from Oklahoma. It ain't no fun to lose." Okay, I've got my marching orders. Let's go.
You guys seem to, hey, Timmy, you guys seem to be having a great time every time I saw you guys out there losing.
Oh gosh, I'm telling you, I've seen it all. I've seen a fist fight on my own bench. I've seen it all. I've seen him want to fight Don. I seen one guy he wanted to go over and whoop Don's ass. When I told him Don was about a little over 4 foot tall, he goes, "That'd look terrible, wouldn't it?" I said, "Yeah."
Don went back down though. Don.
I know he wouldn't.
You should have let him do it.
All right.
You should have let him do it. I realize I have a problem with people named Don or Donald.
So Timmy, do you know what year you came back? Because that kind of affects the little game I'll play with. I think you came back to Oklahoma City pitching in like 97, 96. Do you know if that's right?
Okay, so I come back in let's see, what was it? It was 90. Let's see. 30.
I know they had Harry up until 95.
And me and Harry worked together one year. So
okay.
I was there in 94.
Okay, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida? You went to Fort Lauderdale?
I did not go to Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
All right, but that was 94.
So I was with the team, and because I had just moved, I didn't have enough time saved up at the job to take time off and go to Fort Lauderdale. I wanted to go, but I just didn't have enough time. There was 2 that I missed during that period of time. I didn't get to go to Taiwan, and I didn't get to go to Fort Lauderdale, but that's the year I come back.
Okay. All right.
You were there in 95 in Denver.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was there in 95 in Denver. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a trip. Yes. I would have sworn Harry was with them in 95. I got to in 94 was the first year we were the Dogs. And back then, the biggest tournament every year was the Oklahoma City tournament. There would always be like 8 teams there. Austin, Fort Worth, Houston, the Cobras, like all the good teams were there. So in 94, Don and I went out to the Oklahoma City tournament just to scout. And when I was sitting at the bar with Clint Woodard and Hoodlum, and they found out I was just there scouting, and Woodard was playing with Oklahoma City, and he's like, "Man, you need to play." And so next thing I knew, I was in uniform with Oklahoma City the next morning. So I got to play with Harry.
There was something about some shoes. You didn't have any cleats or something.
Yeah,
right?
Look, I wasn't planning on playing. I didn't bring equipment. And I was like, "Man, I don't even have cleats." And Dave Allstott's like, "Oh, you can wear my extra pair." That dude just gave me his tennis shoes. They didn't have no tread.
Oh yeah, dude, he didn't wear shoes when he played.
He played barefoot. I forgot.
Yeah, he had some stuff. Here, I got some cleats. Here, take these. It
was with tennis shoes, man. They didn't have no tread. They're bigger than my feet. But man, I played in tennis shoes with Oklahoma City that day. But I played.
So you should have gone barefoot with the rest of the team.
Yeah, right. So
I remember big old Kirby used to play barefoot. I think he was the only one I thought played barefoot. Now,
Kirby's that dude from Topeka, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to digress further, but that I'll tell you later. That's a whole different story. That's a nickname that I was looking for, because I don't think that was his actual name. I forget. I don't want to go down that route.
You don't want to go down the rabbit hole?
Was he a vacuum? Is that what it was? Did he just vacuum up all the balls?
I don't have.
No, he was big. He was
he was really big. He was a good hitter, really good hitter. I think his real name is Mike something, and we became friends not too long ago on Facebook. And I wrote him. I was like, dude, ever since you sent me this friend request, I've been trying to remember your nickname, and I just can't pull it up. I remember the first time I was sitting in a room, somebody's like, hey, Mike. I'm like, Mike, Topeka doesn't have anybody named Mike. I was like, Kirby. It's like, oh. So I'm not even positive I got the same guy. I'm sure it is, but I've digressed way too far. Let's get back to Timmy. So, Timmy, you've pitched for Oklahoma City, the West Coast Dogs. I believe you spent 1 year with the BCS, or not BCS, the Lone Star Roadrunners, right? Didn't you do a year with them? The Carolina Warriors, and now
a couple of years.
Now you've been with the Austin Blackhawks since I believe 2015. Over that stretch, I need to say my records do not include anything from the 80s, because I wasn't sure what years you're with the 80s. So I with Oklahoma in the 80s, so I didn't go that far back. But since
I guess you could count Kansas City too a little bit, because I was in there and played a couple of. I did go to World Series with them, but I did work with them a little bit.
I don't have any memory of a Kansas City team ever being at a World Series. It had to have been before my time in the 80s.
It was, yeah.
All right, so I don't have anything from the 80s. These numbers are just since the mid 90s. But since the mid 90s, you have put 13 different individuals on the all-tournament team, and there's 21 total appearances. So I'm first going to give you the 13 names, and I'm going to ask you some questions to see how well you remember these. So the 13 names, and this is the order they appeared on the team, the all-tournament team, for the first time. So starting out with David Alstott, Benny the Legend Meyer, Sherlock. Let me get them all out. Sherlock Washington.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sherlock Washington, Frank Fazio, Robert Wygant, Scott the Scooter Hudson, Devin Nance, Chance Cranford, Mike the Big Game Finn, Alexis Sexy Lexi Gillette, Lupe Perez, Eric Masri Egos, and Brandon Chesser are, at least since the 90s. If you put all tournament players in on the 80s, I missed out on that. But since the mid 90s, those are the 13 different players you have put on the team. With 3 of those players, actually, let me start with this. 3 different years, you have put 3 players, or helped 3 different players get onto the offensive all-tournament team. Do you remember what 3 years those were?
I was 3 years with the Dogs.
2 of them were with the Dogs. The first one was
it was Mikey and Lupe and Eric was the 3.
That was one of the years. I didn't actually write down the names for each one of these, just because that, like I said, there's 3 different years. In 01, when you got, or actually, I was going to say you got to the championship game with Oklahoma City, but that wasn't the championship year. You guys got there in 02. But 01, the year that Benny Legend was the 59-year-old MVP, you had Benny, Frank, and Sherlock were all on that year. Or maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in 08, with the Dogs, you had 3 different players. I couldn't tell you who. And then 09 was the year you had Eric, like Mikey, and one. I didn't write down the names, so my bad. So those were 3 years. There were 3 different times you also helped get 2 members on the all-tournament team in one season. So 3 of those 13 players I named off, and Seth Dog, you could take some stabs at this also. 3 of those players have made the all-tournament time 3 times. Do you know who those 3 players are? 3 different years.
Go ahead, Seth. Try it out. See what you got.
I don't know.
That blank look, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what?
Well, I would say if you're counting now, this is just. I'll make sure I frame this correctly because I think Mike's made it 2 off of me, and I think Lupe's one of them, and Benny's not one of them because he's been more of a defensive player.
Yep. Right.
And wow, it's even hard for me to try to think of.
You've only got 1 so far.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even know if you got 1. Yeah, I think
Lupe wasn't one of them.
Yeah, no, Lupe is 1. That's the only one you got so far.
And I can't remember. I'm pretty sure Frank probably got on a couple of times, but I don't know about 3. Chance might have got on a couple of times, but you got me. I can't place it.
You've pulled the right names, but you didn't land on. You've said the right names, but you didn't go with them. Chance is 1, Mike Finn is another, and Lupe is the 3rd.
Oh wow!
You did have 2 other times where you have 2 other players that have made it twice, and that is Frank Fazio and David Allstott Jr. David was your first 2, at least one after returning to Oklahoma. He made it in 97 and 99. And then Frank is the other one with 2. 4 of your players, 4 of those 21 were named MVPs. Do you know who your 4 MVPs are?
Well, let's see. That'd be Benny here.
That's the easy one.
Yeah,
that dude at 59 years old hit 840.
He started, yeah.
He hit
he was
40 for that MVP.
Isn't that great?
It's crazy.
Yeah, and and I'm going to say this right up front that it's not about how far they hit the ball; it's how fast they run the base.
Benny he wasn't like blazing fast, but he's kind of like Mike Finn, where he didn't waste any. He went straight from home plate to base. He didn't jump around. He never jumped around or cut across going the wrong way like Seth and I did.
And he always ran a good base. He used to run at 90. The bases used to be 90 foot.
Right.
And his we used to time people because once we got into doing it, I was wanting to make sure everybody knew where they stood, so I was giving them their times, and he could run a 90-foot base in under 5. So he was in his younger days, he was really fast. But what we ended up doing was changing his swing a little bit so he would pop the ball up and give him that extra second before the ball touched the ground, and that's what got him there is that little difference in swing. Rather than drive it into the defense, we popped it up a little bit, and then they'd have to go find it because it's bouncing around.
Oh, that's a better approach for all of us. How come you didn't do that for me and Seth? You notice 2 names absent of that list. Just saying.
He only got 12 at bats with me. I did not. Or did we? Or were you in there in 2007? Or
he was at Rochester for a full series. Yeah,
he was there. He was there.
Yeah, so that wasn't a good year. Or was that 2007? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
2006 was Cleveland. Right. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't remember what 2006 was, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead.
The Cleveland fields, even when Benny made his, was at Cleveland also.
Right. But the 01 fields were nowhere near as bad as the 06 fields. No, I thought it was Strongsville, Ohio, right outside of Cleveland. But I thought their fields in 01 were really nice. They put on a great tournament in 01. 06 was a disaster.
Well, and it was the same fields. It just that
same location, but they stopped taking care of them.
And they had a soccer tournament during a rainstorm, and they got stomped out. I mean, literally stomped out. They was basically the same. Of course, I remember. Now this is just me. I remember a guy telling them, they said something about, we're going to have to open up an extra field, and so one of the coaches, or I don't know what you called yourself at the time, but the team manager was Neil, and they said, we're going to have to put somebody over there. And Neil said, well, we'll go. And it was over, and they was doing construction next to us. And we owned that field because we got to where we could do defense around that construction. And not that we would wait till the construction was done, but the fielders focused so much they could hear the ball. People would come from the other fields over to our field, and they was like, how do you guys play in this? Been doing it all day, dude. You got in trouble.
you know what?
We own this.
You know what's funny about that? Like, to me, I remember Don and I were at the because we'd played there on that field. It was way apart from all the other fields. Like you had to walk like 5 minutes to get to the rest of the dang tournament. But I like the isolation. Like we own that field through the round robin. And I remember that night at the coaches captains meeting when they were picking what brackets were going to play where. Gina Wygand was the secretary, and Kenny Bailey is the head umpire, and they were in a corner fighting because the way they had things written out, they were going to send us back to those fields. And one of them was arguing they shouldn't go over, we can't send them back on that field all day. They've spent all day there today. And I turned it on. I was like, man, I want to go back there. He's like, yeah. And I was like, so I spoke up. I was like, hey, just put us there. We'll play on that field.
It's our field. Yeah. We own that bad. Yeah.
You know what's a trip about that? I never thought about. I had breakfast with Kenny Bailey like 2 years later. Kenny Bailey calls that like a John Wayne moment. He said, I
do too. That's why I brought it up.
That dude left me speechless because I've never thought anything about it. I just preferred the field, said I took it. But Kenny said, when I spoke up, I was like, man, just put us on that field. We don't care. He said he said the whole room just went quiet, like, dang, you don't want to mess with them. And I don't know. That trips me out here. That it's funny to me.
Oh yeah. I can tell you
I know John Wayne.
You just, I can tell you that everybody thought that. I heard it over and over again, and that's why I said it, and that's why I brought it up is we own that field. That's our field. It was crowded. You couldn't turn left off of third base, or you'd run into a fence. And the umpires and the scorekeepers was almost sitting on home plate. It was crowded. It was uphill a little bit on one side, and they were grinding rocks over there with a I mean, sometimes it was terrible, but it was our field, and we owned it.
Yeah. Well, for then we ended up losing the championship game, but
but we made it to the championship game. We were in the show. We were in the show.
Got to point out that the worst part of that whole tournament was us not playing with Bam Bam, who spent the entire time. We spent the entire time in Ohio in the hospital with spinal meningitis. So that
that scared us to death, man. I'm telling you, it scared everybody.
We had some rough team meetings through that week. Our team meetings wasn't even that much about like what we were doing on the field. Our team meetings was like, where is Seth? Like what kind? Mikey's telling us about the difference between bacterial and viral meningitis. And you had the worst. What's the worst? Bacterial, right?
Yeah.
And that's one you had. And we literally didn't know when we were taking the field if you would be alive at the end of the game. Man. It was, and that was after you already died earlier in the year and came back to life. So I had when I had Lex on the show, we were just talking about his career or whatever. I told Lex, man, that 06 season is the season I am most proud of. We didn't win the championship. But, man, just everything we faced through that year and then having to come up through the losers bracket, too, because we lost to Taiwan early in the tournament. Like, everything we faced with Seth in the hospital and playing on those horrible fields, like, man, there was no tournament I was more proud of for how, like, we fought all the way through it. Man, we were playing – what was that little dude, Davey, that played on the team that year from Oklahoma? He's like 5'4".
David Gwynn. Yeah,
David Gwynn.
Man.
We started the championship with David Gwynn on the field with us, man. And I'm not ripping Davey, but he's not, he's an old championship starter. He was a good defensive player, but I'm just saying, we battled that team. I love that. Team.
And Seth and I were just talking about David being young and something, pulling practical jokes and stuff. That's who I was talking about, was David Gwynn.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
Tim, let me ask you a question, Tim.
I just want to say that before we start recording, so nobody knows anything what you guys talking about.
Well, nobody wants to know. It was
which was good. Yeah.
Wait, but real quick, because it finishes up what we were doing. You never answered your 4 guesses at the MVP. So you only got 4
MVPs.
With Benny.
All right, so
4 MVPs.
let me just. So it would be Benny and probably Loopy.
That's
and
2.
Probably Eric and Mike.
Nope, you got half of them. Benny Myers, Frank Fazio, Lupe Perez, and Chance Cranford.
Chance. Oh. Hey, was that the year he had to share the MVP with the was it a co?
It was a player from Taiwan. Yep.
Taiwan.
That was 2008, I believe.
Yeah,
no, 06. The year we were talking about. That was 06. All right, Seth, go ahead with your question. I'm done with all that.
So, Tim, you've been here forever. What do you think is the most significant rule change that has happened in the NBBA? Right. What has changed our game the most from your perspective?
Do you is the question more along the lines of I really have I don't want to.
You sound like Amy Coney Barrett now. No hints, no previews. No.
I tell you what I like the best about the game is this is what I like the best.
I'm not interested in that, but go ahead.
Right.
Don't go changing the question to what you want to answer. No, just go ahead.
No, it's the designated fielder and the designated hitter.
Well, that's a rule change. That was a rule change.
It was a definite rule change, and I tell you why. It gets more people involved in the game, and if you look at it, you have people that are excellent fielders, but they aren't really strong hitters or strong runners at the baselines.
Right.
So I really believe, in my opinion, that was the most instrumental thing in the NBBA's changing of the rules or changing of the style of the game. I believe, in my opinion, that's the one right there.
There you go. I hear that. You just threw me off with which one you like, but it was just the term. I jumped on that too quickly.
I'm a big boy. Hell, you can me all you want.
Listen, it was a pretty straightforward question. It's like, well, are you asking from the standpoint? I don't even want to guess how many standpoints there could be to go at that. I was wondering.
I've been on the board and I've seen a lot of stuff presented, and some of it went down and some of it went forward. And there was different things that I've seen come forward that was pretty good, but the 100-foot bases brought the games. I can remember playing, a game in the 30s somewhere and losing by 1 point.
Both that you should remember as a championship game. And when you came to the Dogs,
that was different. I'm talking about on a regular basis down in Texas against Mathena or Kevin or somebody, 30-31. It wasn't. It was just a slugfest all the time.
I remember, you like telling stories. I remember telling you when we first started talking about you coming to the Dogs, I made you a promise. I was like, you get us 30 runs, we'll get you a championship. you will never
That's right, you did.
You give us as a matter
of fact, you bargained. He bargained. He goes, as a matter of fact, you get us half of that. And I guarantee you, we'll put them out. We'll get the put outs. You just get the hits.
Back in the 90s, because people, NFL fans, the Baltimore Ravens won a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer as their quarterback, and nobody would have labeled him a championship quarterback. But the Baltimore Ravens held the score down and just said, "Don't turn the ball over and get us 13, 15 points, and we'll be all right."
We'll win, yeah.
And when Brian Doris was our pitcher in the 90s, Seth took that approach with Brian all the time. It's like, Brian, just get us 2 runs an inning, we'll win the game. That's all. Don't strike us out as little as possible. Get us 2 runs an inning. That's all we're asking of you, Brian.
All we ask.
And as a team. You gotta do stuff like that as a team. Like you said, just play a solid game, dude. Just play a solid game. The rest of it will be on our shoulders. We'll do it for you. And I always had that, in my hip pocket is if I do a solid game that I don't have to worry about goof ups out in the field, that somebody was going to take care of the fielding. All I had to do was make them runs. And every once in a while when we'd be playing a game or something. I remember, I think it was down in Houston, and we were playing Kansas, and they was getting a little bit ahead, and they was just out by 4 or 5 runs, and somebody said something to, I think it was Kenny Bailey, and he says, Kansas is going to win this. I can just see it coming. And he turned to him. He says, Tim hasn't had his inning yet. He's got an inning. And when they start hitting the ball, they will pound that ball all inning until the other team just goes blind out there in the field. They can't figure out where the ball's going to fall. And he goes, and right after I said that, the very next inning, you put like 10 runs on it. He said that was just so, he says, it was just so apropos to what I was telling the guy, that every once in a while, something just clicks in the game. We'll get 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 there. But when he starts hitting the ball, you better be ready, because you got to get some putouts. He is not going to strike a guy be deep.
That's what made you a good fit for it. We were used to only getting runs, usually like 1 inning a game. we spent our whole career just waiting for 1 good run to get us over the top.
All right. No, and I mean, that Dog team, that early Dog team, I mean, that's the only team that's ever won championships without a Hall of Fame pitcher, like a string of championships. Right. Everybody else has had a Hall of Fame pitcher. Even the Dogs of the later years with you, Tim, having to win with only 10, 12 runs a game was a great feat, But just as
I started to point out earlier when I made that Trent Dilfer reference that you proved to be correct, because that 99 championship, we had 69% contact, Timmy. We won a championship with 69%. Most teams can't get out of the round robin with 69%
That's
contact.
True.
So we won a championship with 69% contact. So go ahead, Seth. Where are you going to throw out?
No, I mean, I just going to the Heat after I left the Dogs. you know, I got that full experience. You know, we had, you know, pitchers on the Dogs who really couldn't pitch, but we always balled defensively. And then I got to the Heat, and we had this great pitcher, but we didn't play any defense. And it made me, you know, get so much more respect for those pitchers who don't have the defenses behind them, like you did, Tim, back in the early days. Like, you know, very few teams ever had back in the early days, to have to go out in a World Series and throw all those innings. I mean, playing 5 games, 6, 7 games in a 4 or 5 day period where you're scoring 30 runs is a beast on the pitcher, man. I used to tell Fonzie, it's like, man, I feel for you, Fonzie. You're throwing so many pitches, so many innings. So it just, I mean, I don't even know how you're standing by the end of the tournament. So you were in the same position with Oklahoma. I mean, you know, I always considered you like the toughest pitcher out there. Remember in '99, you got smacked in the face or whatever. But you know, what is your mindset as a pitcher when you had to keep, you know, pouring on all those runs and trying to make it through a tournament where, you know, obviously the defense is, you know, it's a, you know, we win together, we lose together. So the defense is, you know, but obviously the defense isn't holding up their end of the bargain, man. How is it actually trying to fight through as a pitcher through one of those tournaments, man? Is it, I mean, how did you back in the early days do all that?
That's a valid question, you know, and you just have to put it out of your mind. I mean, would you ask Dan Marino what it was like to put up, you know, 40, 50 to lose a game, you know, to be the you know, having all kinds of records broke and still lose games, you know, would you ask that? It's just, you know, you just have to do what you can do and just get back in there and just keep pounding the ball and hope that your team just does a better job on offense. And, you know, Benny, if it got by Benny on the old, you know, the garbage was up front. It was you know, it was a Ray type deal. You know, you had Benny up front. If you got to buy Benny, you had a pretty good shot, you know, and
that was really, in all fairness, that was beat ball in the 80s, especially at 90 feet. It's like, all the good teams, you know, Albuquerque had Ray Marshall, North Bay had Billy Blue, the East Bay had Slick Watts. It's like everybody had somebody good up front, but if you got it by that person, it was payday, you know?
Yeah, exactly. If it kept rolling, it was. Yeah, exactly. But you don't think about it. You just put it out of your head. You just move forward and say, hey, I'm gonna do everything I can do to put this game in the bank, and you just keep pushing, you know. And that's what
I'm guessing that if you carried that frustration over, like, it's going to affect you when you go back out on the mound. You know what I mean? If you sit there and if the defense isn't coming through, if you were to sit there and watch it and let it eat you up, when you go back on the mound, you're not gonna. If you carry it on the mound, kind of like a quarterback, you made the Dan Marino. You know, if he carried that out on the field, you know, like the frustration side of it every time, he probably underperformed. So you probably just have to put it out of your mind on some level. I'm curious.
Thinking like the mental pressure of it all, more like, God, you know, I got to keep coming through. You know what I'm saying?
I'm wondering that for every pitcher, period. I consider that to be, Timmy, as a pitcher, like, I mean, beat ball without good pitching is just a waste of time. You know what I mean? There's nothing about the sport that is fun if everybody's striking out. So tell me, like, what kind of pressure is that? Just to, beyond like having to help the team win, just having to help the team put a ball in play. What's it like to carry that pressure?
Well, and that is a very real thought. You know, I mean, you get up to bat and you have trained everybody to swing on time, and then the adrenaline comes. Then what do you do as a pitcher? You know, because all of a sudden everybody's swinging, you know, one beat early, and you're pitching, at the regular cadence because you've been down this road 30 times. You know, you've been at the big show 30 times. Some of these guys only been there a couple of times. They get amped up. Heck, even some of them that's been there a couple of times.
Oh yeah. No, there are experienced players that still struggle with their timing. I lectured Isaiah Wilcox was on our show, and he when he had admitted like the downside of his game is the offensive side. And Seth asked, you know, what he needed to work on, it. He's like timing. I'm like, you've been playing with Kevin Simpson for 4 years. You're still working on your timing. It's unacceptable that it's not right yet, though. You know what I mean? It's like a veteran player has to. And I apologize for pointing out Isaiah, but my point is to every player, you have. So
the frustration is it, and you see this with some of the other teams that have a bunch of people from other areas come in, is that the pitcher will change his cadence to match the batter, and that's okay to a point. But the problem with that is the people on the bench hear that cadence change. And now they're changing.
Right.
And their timing changes.
Right.
So you don't know if they're on regular cadence or a change cadence. So you're fishing around for where the cadence is at, and they don't really understand that they're off. They heard you pitch, you know, you say ready, and then you pitch the ball, it gets halfway there, and you say pitch because this guy's swinging really, really early, and then that's what ends up happening. Now, the only time that's ever worked for me, one time it worked for me. And it was very late in a World Series game. I was down by 5 runs. Everybody wanted it so bad that they were swinging hard and they were swinging early. And once I finally noticed it, I was down to my last out. And I started pushing that ball as hard as I could in there and calling it just as late as I could after it released my hand. And we popped them balls up over my left shoulder and dropped it into the weak side. Yeah, like 5 times.
No, it's funny that you bring up the sideline action of it, because that's something I know I've been guilty of as a player who's been on the sideline a million times, listening to what's going on, offering my opinions to other players. But I never thought about the other side of it. Jared Woodard brought it up when I had him on the show early on. And he's saying like that the thing he hates is having people on the sideline talking about the timing and everything, because it should just be between the pitcher, the catcher, and the batter. And nobody from the side, nobody on the sideline, it's never going to stop, but nobody on the sideline should be going, swing early, you're late.
Oh, yeah.
It's just including so much that needs to get out. You know what I mean? You need to, that unit needs to be working together.
And then there's another facet that I've told some pitchers about, is that if you know a guy is not swinging, if he's swinging early and fouling down third base side, and he's consistently doing that, you don't want to change your cadence so awful much, but what you want to do is you want to change his mindset. So when that guy comes up, you talk to him like he is, like he's
Dale's heart just stopped.
Yeah, sorry, we're laughing, Timmy, because we lost you for a second. Your internet was we lost you for a little bit, so that's why we're laughing. You're back though. Go ahead.
You're back.
Where was I at?
I don't know.
Oh, it does say it says it's unstable.
Yeah, are you moving around?
Yeah, I'm moving around.
Well, why don't you sit the hell down and have an interview?
No, I'm not as getting up out of my chair.
Yeah,
I am. Let me turn one thing off. There we go. Now that should help us a little bit.
All right. Now you were saying you need to change the mindset of the batter, if they're consistently swinging early.
If they're consistently swinging early, just by a little bit, you don't want them swinging into the teeth of the defense. You don't want them swinging, hitting down third base foul balls. So when that guy comes up and you know he's that way, he's been doing that, you start talking slower to him. Oh, come on, get up here, buddy. Come on. Now, it's just me and you here. And you talk calm to him and you try to calm him down so that he doesn't swing early. You get somebody that's hitting down first base side, he's not cranking the ball around, getting it up in the air. Foul balls down first base side, he comes up, you start pounding him. Come on, dude, let's get that thing. Let's get that ball hit. You know, you start amping him up, but you don't tell him he's late. You don't tell him he's early. You just get his adrenaline going so that he'll swing earlier.
So it's like Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah.
Right?
This is the ball you want to hit, dude. This is the ball you want to hit.
So you're part pitcher, part Jedi, part like therapist, sports therapist.
You got to do what you got to do to win the game, baby.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Something I'd like to ask you about, and honestly, as much success as you've had all around the nation with all these different batters, you really didn't have too much more success with Bam Bam than any other pitcher did. I was wondering about pitching to Bam Bam. Now, for the audience that doesn't know, Set Dog is 6'5", and
Should have crushed it.
We'll go with the NFL scale of 250.
There you go.
But I mean, the dude, I've had more than one pitcher, and even people just speculate, like watching from the side, say they felt like Seth's swing was one of the fastest they've ever seen. Like his swing going through the strike zone is like the blink of an eye. And like Henry Wooford, who pitched for the Dogs in the mid '90s, and Don Robinson, who pitched for the Blaze when we played for the Blaze, both said after getting hit by balls that came back and hit him, they both said Seth one time hit Don on his pitching arm like 2-3 weeks before the World Series. And like we didn't know Don would be able to pitch. I remember Don talking about it. Like he never saw it coming. And Henry said the same thing when balls off Seth's bat would hit him. Like he just felt the ball hit him. He never saw the ball coming to get away from it or anything. So I was wondering what it's like to pitch, not just to Seth, but somebody that big with that powerful swing. What's it like trying to throw a 1 pound rock from 20 feet away?
Well, and I'm going to apologize right up front because there's about 3 people in the game that I never could hit the bat really solid with, and Seth's one of them. And for some reason, I don't know whether it was I couldn't see the bat good enough. I don't know whether I couldn't what the deal was, but there was Seth and one of the guys down in Austin down there. Steve, I should be hitting his bat more consistently than I do. And there was one.
He plays on your team. You don't know dude's last name? Yeah,
but I didn't want to call him out.
Okay. Well, you already did. Steve, how many Steves you got on the team?
But Steve is one of my best. I really, it's one of my best friends. I like the guy. I just hanging with him, everything, but I just can't hit the bat. And there was a guy for that big guy, and it's always seems to be the big guys. I don't know whether I'm trying to pitch uphill to them. I don't know what the issue is, but there was one that Harry could hit here in Oklahoma City that I just couldn't seem to hit. And so anyway, there's been about 3 guys I couldn't hit consistently, but the one, and I usually tell a couple of stories. One of them is when we had those polycore balls. When they come off the bat, I couldn't tell where they were going off the bat, and I got hit out in we was at Stanford.
Oh, okay, yeah, 86.
And I got hit right between the eyes, broke my glasses, and I got up. Broke my sunglasses. They were safety glasses, broke them right in half. I got up, wiped it off, threw another ball, and got hit in the jewels. It happens. You just have to keep.
Luckily, you got a cooch.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. Is that PG-13? I'm sorry.
Is there a pause or what do you call it? A buzzer on there?
Nah, I gotta roll with it.
Oh, okay.
I just lost some of my red states, I'm guessing.
But the only time that I could remember the exact instant I got hit, it was one of those times, and we talked about it when we were off set a little bit earlier. We talked about how you can slow the game down. And the game had slowed down for me. We were playing Houston here in Oklahoma City. And I pitched a ball to Boyd Dickey. Now that old boy could hit the ball.
Oh, yeah. Boyd Dickey that's another. When I first came in the game in the 80s and got on the board, and the board used to go out and have like games, you know what I mean? We divide up and we play a game after the board meeting. And man, that was my introduction to big bats with Boyd Dickey and Doc Bradley. Man, they're out there with their 38-ounce bats. I was a skinny little kid, man. I couldn't even hold
They were swinging them 38s with authority. I mean, it wasn't.
Oh, no, Boyd Dickey was a beast.
Yeah, his arms big as my thighs. You know, I mean, and I'm up there pitching, and he's got that big old, and it's a big old shiny red Budweiser bat, had Budweiser written on it, and he's swinging it like it's a twig. Oh, Jesus! He's swinging it like it's a twig, and he gets up to bat in the middle of a game, and we're playing Houston, and this is where the toughest pitcher in beat baseball kind of comes from. I throw a ball, and the last thing I remember is that ball looks as big as a basketball. There is nothing but ball in my face, and I get my face turned just enough to where it hit me right on the jaw, right on the button, like in boxing. It hit right on the boy. I was out.
Damn, goes Frazier.
Yeah, I was on the mat, man. I was out, and they come out and they're pouring a little water on me. They're slapping around on me a little bit, and when I come to, I swear this is what it was like. I was laying there, and when I opened my eyes and I finally realized where I was at, there was somebody waving their hand over my face, and it sounded like this. He went, "Are you all right? Timmy, are you all right? Are you all right?" And that's what the regular speed was. And I come to, and I got up, and I said, yeah, give me a drink of water. And I took a drink of water, daubed off my face from where they poured water on it, and then pitched a 22-run comeback victory.
That was actually one thing I always gave you credit for, is it didn't matter how hard you got hit. You whatever your next pitch was, it was contact again. Like, you didn't jump up, like you were never, like, it didn't scatter you. You didn't jump up and strike somebody out. You made contact on the very next pitch.
Yeah,
almost.
It was just as
100%.
It worried. I found out it worried the batters more than it worried me.
I hated hitting a pitcher. I didn't even have like a powerful swing. You know what I mean? Seth used to laugh. I would be like, "You all right?" Seth's like, "Why wouldn't he be?" But that is a horrible feeling when you make contact and you feel this boom, and then just milliseconds later you hear boom. It's like, oh, dude, you cost me a run, man.
Yeah. That was
it's a horrible feeling. You never know how bad you could be. The one that hit, you know.
Yeah, it could be. But
let me
my favorite line after I got hit nowadays, and it's just been kind of my standard deal is I yell at the batter, "Is that all you got? you ain't even touching me." And that kind of gets it out of their head, you know. I mean, you got to. I've come back and World Series, as I've come back and sat and got in the shower after the World Series was over and had bruises, and you could literally see on my thigh where the cleats of the stitching was on the ball. On my shoulder, you could see where the stitching hit my shoulder. You could, you could see the spots where I'd been hit. And until the game's over, I don't really feel it that much. It just doesn't affect me. And
I remember playing, I mean, you talked about getting knocked out flat already, but I remember in the 0-2 championship game against Houston, you got knocked out cold. Like you took one right in the face there. And 10 minutes later, you were up pitching. You guys scored whatever, 29,
hey, I'll
30
tell you one. We was up in Rochester, and Loopy hit me right in the chest. Right, I mean, right, you know, what they call the Superman punch that they
yeah, right.
it was right on the heart. And I went directly to my knee and put my hand down, and Uncle Mike, he says, "Are you all right?" "Yeah, just give me a second." And he goes, "Well, what are you doing? What's wrong?" And I said, "It usually takes, if you get hit in the liver or the heart, it usually takes about 1 second for the blood rush to hit your brain for you to be knocked out." He goes, "You thought about that? You got hit. You thought through the whole process. I got hit on the heart. I need to go to my knees so that I won't hurt any other part of my body, my hand, my finger, anything else." I said, "Yeah, I did."
I had a similar experience playing goalball, and the only reason I bring it up is because it was playing against Seth. There's a local tournament, goalball tournament that's held every November in Berkeley, and we would play in that, but because goalball you only need like 3 players, you know, we would you know, the players on the Dogs would break up. So Mike Finn and I were on one team. I don't even know who our third. Oh, probably Roger Brock was our third player, and then Tony Lewis, E-Dog, and Bam Bam were on the other team, and we made it to the championship game. And we had already played once earlier. We knew we were like going to be the 2 best teams in that tournament. I believe Seth's team had won it the year before. Seth and Eric, they won it the year before. Mikey and I were trying to get this one. And I'm playing a wing opposite of Seth. And we've been talking trash all day. I mean, it's really just finesse against power. I'm trying to just squeak one by him before he gets back in place on defense while he's just reeling back and throwing everything he has.
Even
like a 4-pound ball. And I caught one from Seth, a goal ball right in the middle of my chest. And I just out of pride couldn't show it.
Oh yeah.
He made me think I should get out and get medical attention because he felt like he rocked something in my chest cavity. I have never ever been hit in the body that hard.
Well, and like I said before, if you get hit on the heart or the liver, I've watched boxing one time where a guy, he come in with a body shot, hit a guy in the liver, and just as soon as he hit him, he started for a neutral corner, and the guy's standing there looking at him, and then all of a sudden his knees crumple and he hits the ground. And that's what happens is I thought through the process. I just got hit on the chest. I went down and got my hands out of the way, put my hands down, put my knee. So in case I did pass out, I didn't hurt any of my, didn't hurt any of my pitching fingers. I didn't hurt anything. And Mike goes, "You actually thought through all that?" Yeah.
No, and I feel all that because I sat there. I played the rest of that game going, man, how stupid are you being, Ray? You feel like you're I thought he induced a heart attack on me. That dude lit me up. Hey, on a serious note along these lines, because I've thought about this, especially with all the concussion talk from football. Like, you've been hit in the head with this beep ball a bunch of times. And I've known you've been knocked out cold at least twice that I know of. I mean, have you talked to your doctor about this? Is that a concern of yours? Like, I consider you a candidate, all pitchers, maybe a candidate for CTE.
I don't, as it stands right now, I have other issues that I'm more concerned about than being popped in the head once in a while. Because most of the time, if you get hit, it's the sloshing of the brain inside, because it's
right, the rattling.
Yeah, and usually when I get hit, and I don't know, everybody's got a different size head. Mine's size 8. So the ball ricochets off. But, you know, you can get hit in the jaw and it still hits that carotid artery back there. It still makes that blood rush up into your head. It's not the contact or the brain slosh that knocks me out. It's usually the rush of blood into the brain that knocks you out. I haven't really had anybody, you know, look at it or anything like that, but as it stands right now, at 62 years old, I'm not going to worry about it. It's not, it's not part of my concern right now.
Just happy to still be alive in a pandemic.
Dude, you bet. That's it, exactly.
Hey, you should be happy. It's going to be over on Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's supposed to be over on Wednesday, man. So,
that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
You know, and you were asking questions earlier, and I really don't keep those kind of statistics, but you said 13, and I can guarantee you that when I was with the Bombers, I put another 4 or 5 on in the Bombers. You know, there was close to 20 different people on the All-Star teams and on the, you know, as you know, the MVPs and things like that from the time I started until recently. And it's just amazing to me that I've had such a career that kind of thing. And I this is where I'm sitting right now, has trophies behind me, has a picture of Lex behind me on our championship game that we won, you know, come back with the 5 runs on that. You know, I was going to send that to Lex, but I just can't part with it. It's part of my life. And
be wasted in his room. He ain't gonna look at it.
You know, and the trophies, and you're in there. I mean, you're on the right side of Lex right there. You know, and I just, you know, there's been so many people in my life that I felt so attached to or so engaged with that I cannot for the life of me ever tell anybody that I was volunteering. Actually, I feel like they were helping me, you know, and I will, if anybody ever asks, it's not about me giving, it's about what I receive. All the trophies that are sitting behind me, and I know you guys can't see them, there's about 30 of them, 20 or 30 of them back there, different plaques, different trophies, different, there's a whole series of the little towels that you get when you go to the World Series.
Yeah.
Back there, and it's all set up. It's not, when I look at those, it's not about, oh, how good did Tim do there? A lot of those trophies were given to people in the Bombers in the 80s, and they have passed, and their wife has passed those on to me. Those are people back there. Those aren't my trophies. Those aren't my, you know, those aren't things that I'm putting back there because I'm proud of them. I have them back there to remember the people I was with when this thing started.
No, I like, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I'm glad you brought it up. I was actually getting ready to ask about that. But
look at there. You made me tear up. Dang it!
I like that you did that little shrine or whatever. And honestly, as far as you're talking about, like, you've received more than you've given, I feel like if that's going to be the case with anything you put something you love into. I mean, I feel the same way about people. I appreciate everything that it gave to me. You know what I mean? I'll always love it for what it gave to me. And at this point, all I have is the memories it gave to me. You know what I mean? I'm not making new memories as a player anymore. So it's like that's all I have left. So I'm thankful for having that. I'm wondering if along the way, what are some of your favorites? Because you're part of a lot of teams. You've been part of the NBBA board, whatever. It's like, do you have favorite players, favorite stretch of people? Was there a favorite time of the game? Like, what?
You know, it comes down for me. It comes down to moments, not a person, but a moment. When that person steps up and does something, a John Wayne moment. I cannot tell you how that feels to be on a team with somebody that says, get your biggest gun out and bring it, and
Yeah.
you were one of those. You were one of those moments, and the Mariano, there's been a moment with Mariano. There's been a moment with Benny, there's been a moment and those moments of valor or challenge or whatever the case may be, those moments are my life. This is not, I could go through and tell you, oh, I like this guy. There was, and sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was more of a joke than anything else. Carol Duke Mize, we were playing Dawn, I think it was, and Dawn was a little bit mouthy, and Duke says, walk me over there. I go, no, you ain't going over and start a fight with him. He goes, I ain't gonna start a fight. And I said, all right. And I walked him over there, and he says, he sticks his hand out and he tells Dawn, he says, my name's Shit, have a handful. And he starts it's moments like that, that I can remember, like the story I was telling me and Dave Fapiano at his house. It wasn't even on the field. He made me think that he knew what was going to happen in the ball game, but he had a radio next to him. I couldn't hear. He had a radio next to him, and he could hear what was going to happen on the TV. And he was talking like he knew, it was a joke. It's been little things throughout the whole time, that those little moments when you're with somebody and they're real, they're who they are, not the game. A lot of times the game is on the line. It's me and you, Lex. It's me and you. We're tied up. You got to hit this ball. And he screams out loud, and he jumps up higher than I've ever seen anybody jump up. And he comes down on 2 feet, puts his bat up, and he hacks that ball right into the same hole everybody else hacked it into. And it is amazing, those moments, when you see those moments in people's lives, when those moments come to true, and you just see something in them, and you make that connection. It's like your brother, your sister, it's like family.
When you're talking about the memories, like memories being as much off the field as on the field, I could totally relate. I was thinking, Seth, as he talked about that, like all our poker games and
absolutely.
All the hangouts after a game, and something just funny would happen. I remember you and I, Seth, would turn to each other like that. That's going in the book. Because we never wrote any of those things down, they're not going in any book. But I can remember so many times just the room breaking out and just gut busting laughter. It's like, oh, that's going in the book. So I could totally relate to you, Timmy, with just saying how as much goes on off the field with this thing.
And you remember when we was down there in Texas, and we was looking at some of the players down there. We was playing poker, and some of the jokes and stuff after just practicing there in Texas. And Cotton was with us and some of the rest of them. And we went back to the hotel and played some games and stuff. And Chance, I think Chance was there too.
Yeah. That was the first time. That was the first time Don and I flew out to Austin when Lupe was joining the team. Or Lupe was already on the team. It was after Oklahoma was done, right after the 05 tournament. Like 2 months later, you and Chance came over to Austin, and we met up. Then Craig Cotton came out there, was playing with us a little bit. But that was the first official thing we did with you and Chance as part of the Dogs.
And I tell you, the moment with me and Don isn't necessarily, his was on the field. His passion for the game overrides everything. And that is, it can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. It can push people into the game or push them out of the game. And so
it didn't push me out of the game. I'm sorry. Pushed me off the dog.
Off the team. I understood. And I wanted to make sure everybody else understood that. I wanted to make sure everybody else understood that.
I didn't leave deep ball, but
pushed me out of the game.
So that's true.
Actually, I would just like to say, in all fairness, it's not the passion for the game; it's his passion for getting things the way he wants them. Is
and that's
it's
probably
not always related to the game.
That's probably as true as anything else. But when we were out on the field here, and ESPN was out here, and we were having fun and everything. But prior to that, he was really cool when ESPN was here. But prior to that, Chance was going and kicking his legs out rather than going down
head first
into the belly. He wasn't doing his technique correctly. And Don, just flat told him, I don't care how good you are. I will come over and kick you square in the ass if you don't start doing it correctly. And from then on, he did it correctly. And he, one of the best assets on the team. And go ahead.
Listen, Seth and I, make our comments because obviously we both had bad falling outs with Don. However, with that said, we have never badmouthed him as a defensive coach. Never. We give him credit for the Dogs being the defensive beast that it was, and we give him credit for making all of us better. There's not a single player in the league he can't make better on defense, period. So we've never, no matter what our hard feelings are with that dude, we've never taken credit away from his ability to coach defense. There's nobody better at it. Nobody better at it.
And I'll tell you something else, too, that a lot of people may not have noticed. Chance's dad, I don't know if he played semi-pro ball or not, but he had an eye. He could see things.
Yeah, he right away became kind of part of the Dogs coaching staff because he was good at standing off at the sideline and working with you. Yeah, working with you. He didn't yell. He wasn't one of those people that said, "Hey, Timmy, he's early." He talked to you. It was between you and him.
And I could look over and he could give me hand signals, just like if he was in baseball and somebody on third base is giving hand signals.
Yeah.
He'd give me hand signals as to what was going on. And we set them hand signals up so he could tell me, he would point at the batter and then which way the batter was early or late. He'd point at me and tell me if I was high or low. All hand signals. So nobody knew except me and him what was going on. Yeah. That was I'll tell you, though, all those people that made it on the team, on the all-star teams and stuff, they really need to thank him for that. He was an asset that you can't talk enough about having that edge, that extra 10%.
Right.
On the field to help you out. That edge was there.
I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Chance overall as a person, but I love his parents. I loved having his parents as part of the team. I'm not even ashamed to say that either. But I loved his parents. His mom, the last year I played in 2009, the tournament was in Stockton, and we were missing something and we needed her to make a run for us. So she runs to the store and I saw her as she's walking back towards the tee and with our supplies. And I was like, her name's Darla, right?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, Darla, so thank you so much for going and doing that for us. It means so much. She's like, no problem. Their bakery had fresh chocolate eclairs. I got 2. She said, I got 2, 1 for each hip. But I love his mom. I loved his dad. He had great parents. I really don't have much else for you. Do you have anything else for him, Seth? before we let him get back to all his honeydews? He got work to do outside.
Oh, dude, that ice storm. I got 3 trees in the HOA out here, and I'm the president. You know what that means, right? I got to do work. I've took before I started this morning, I took 1 load out of my pickup truck, and that was just about 2/3 of 1 tree. So
well, good luck with all that.
One question. Hopefully it won't take too long.
Okay.
But it's a rules question again. If you could change or implement one rule to make our game more competitive and better, more entertaining, what would that rule be?
Oh, I get really upset because of the people that call pitch and just to get the batter to swing. The game wasn't meant to have the word pitch be a trigger.
Yeah, I agree totally. I'm gonna take that a step further. I for one, it's already a rule. The problem was when the tournament committee went to the head umpire at the time and said, you know what, you have to start enforcing this rule. He basically said no. He basically said no. So
it's a little ambiguous, and the verbiage, I've read it 2 or 3 times, and the verbiage is a little ambiguous. It says approximately when it leaves his hand. How far is approximate? Halfway there?
Yeah, I don't know why. Seth asked you the question. If that's something you want to change, man, write the rule change. Change it. All
right.
And I remember that this is you ask about certain things, and there's been moments, and sometimes those moments aren't face to face. There was a time, and it was when Dave Benny was very young, and we were in Chicago, and they had a big atrium, and I could see across the hall a big party going on. And then all of a sudden I noticed there's some cops coming down the hall, and they're talking to people as they're going through. And this one lady says something to Frank Fazio, Big Frank.
Yeah.
And Big Frank, he doesn't know she's a cop. He just steps out in front of her and starts laying his line on her. What's going on? Where are you going? What's going on? And she steps back and she takes an offensive posture. She got one hand on a taser and one hand on a club. I'm sitting there going, "Hey, get out here! Frank's gonna get his ass kicked. Watch this!" I can't say anything.
Frank never went with a cane. If he didn't have his guide dog, he had nothing. So
he had nothing. He was standing there in front of her, and all of a sudden he's got his glasses on, he's looking smooth, and he's talking smooth, and she steps back and she puts her hand on the cane. I have no idea what she said to him, but the next thing I saw was she reached up and moved her hand in front of his face, and I thought, oh no, he ain't gonna get dumped now. She figured it out.
Frank has never met a woman that he doesn't believe should be interested in him.
But I could have swore he was gonna get thumped, man. I thought
Seth, let me ask you, if you could kind of like branch it off on both the questions you asked him. What do you think was the most significant rule, and what would you change?
The most significant rule change was pushing those bases back to 100 feet. That changed the game. That changed the game immensely. And
I agree.
It made it more defensive. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be in my top 4 or 5. Yeah.
That definitely.
You actually, you answered I was, after asking you, I was going to answer it myself, and you gave both my answers. My answer is the 100-foot base, moving the bases out to 100 feet is the most significant change, I think, as far as impacting the game, not players, but in fact, impacting the game. And I think it should be considered to move it out to 105 or 110 now.
Yeah.
And the other one that's in the top 5, I think, is when they changed it from 5 strikes And
four.
Oh yeah, down to 4. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, 4.
And they took away one of the passes.
One of the balls.
Yeah, one of the pass balls. Yeah.
And you know, the other one that I put in there is moving the start date of the tournament to Tuesday, right? Because back in the day, starting on Wednesday and going through Saturday, the World Series used to be a grind, boy, a grind. Now you might just play one game on Wednesday or something like that, man. You know, so it's a lot easier.
Well, and like Neil used to say, this is Neil's favorite line was, "We want to take the high road." You know, you want to play that one game and go home,
right?
Because the first day, after the first day of that round robin, you know, a lot of times I'm back at the hotel sitting in a bath with 20 pounds of ice.
If you're winning, it's so much easier road. It's almost unfair how much easier the road is when you're winning.
It's ridiculous
not easy.
now.
It's not easy to win though, so I don't know.
It's not. I mean, it is there is a competitive imbalance. I think that is now that with the schedule that kind of takes place when you have a team like the Dogs or the team like the Thunder that are so much better than everybody else. When they start taking that easier road to the championship,
plays into their favor.
Exactly. Yeah, plays into their hand. And you know, the rule I would like to see is if the bases don't get pushed out, a seventh fielder. I think that would help. Anything to bring the rule the scoring down. Yeah, the game has to be more competitive through bringing the scoring down. Love the pitchers, but we got to have.
No, I agree. I agree.
Well,
Timmy.
Timmy. No, I was say.
Been the best one, haven't I? I've been the best one.
What, the best guest?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know. Without a doubt, you are a friend in Oklahoma, man. You know, I know on Tuesday, Timmy, your heart's gonna be in the right place. So I know, Timmy, that when I look out at the NBBA landscape and all the NBBA people posting, I look at Tim, I say, you know what? That's a good man right there. He's gonna do the
you know,
right
and
thing.
somebody asked me the other day. I'm looking at another 4 years before I retire, approximately 4 years, and I should be in pretty good shape if as long as they don't mess with my retirement. You know, I work for the federal government.
Right.
As long as somebody don't mess with my retirement. Right. And they said, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to get another job? And I said, no, I don't want another job. If I retire and I can't pitch for a team, then I would like to take over for the tournament committee chairperson, do all the coordination for that, do something for the NBBA. I have been so blessed to be able to go to the Dominican and help them down there. And the moment with Francina's dad, I got out of the car one time and went over. I started doing exercises with the group, and he walked over and he goes, "You really love this game, don't you?" I said, "Yes. Yes, I do. It's my passion. It's what I do. I love the game."
Yeah, you wouldn't. I would hate to think anybody would stick around as long as you did without having more than just a desire to do nice things for blind folk. You know what I mean?
No.
That's
and then the trip to Argentina. You talked about the go ball stuff. I got to watch Argentina play against Uruguay.
Oh wow! Cool.
Down there in the school, yeah. The coach was trying to set the fields up, and I went in and helped him set them up. And I stayed and watched the game, and it was a very competitive game. But we went out and pitched the ball to the people that was in the school. There was a blind school there, and we went out and pitched the ball to them. And the weird thing was when we went to the college, there was a bunch of people that was taking the phys ed courses, and there was like 200 of them out there. And of course, Mariano had to talk to them about what we were doing and how it worked and things like that. And I was pitching to them and things like that. But you know what was really different between there and here is them kids didn't play grab ass. They weren't on their phones. They were and engaged in learning about what was going on. That to me was amazing. And we went to 2 different colleges, and both of them was exactly the same. The kids were engaged in learning, not fart-assing around.
Oh,
cool.
well, you know, the American college student, we got to have fun, you know.
Beer pong on Friday.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
If you're blind, it's got a rattler in it. So,
So
did I hear it hit beer?
So you and I, Timmy, played together. I'll close up on that. We played together on 3 different teams: the Oklahoma City Bombers, the West Coast Dogs, the Carolina Warriors. I have my Carolina Warriors jersey on. You told me you've got all kinds of gear. So for our audience, what all do you
Here's
put
my
on?
Bombers hat. I got my Bombers hat. There's my Bombers hat right there, so everybody can see my Bombers hat. That's
Bombers had green colors, right? If I remember right.
It was the A's colors.
Yeah, so I can't remember what green that is.
Green.
Oh, yeah,
it's green. It's like grass green.
It's like your shirt. It's like it's a Carolina shirt, and
a shirt I've never seen. Shirt I've never seen before in my life. So
you bet.
Okay.
You know,
Hey,
just
Timmy,
like
I'm glad you've learned to communicate with blind people so well over these last 30 years.
What else you got on, Timmy?
So I got my Hawks on. I got my Hawks shirt on right here. Right there it is, Hawks, and then I got my dog shirt on underneath of that. So I you know, those are my longest running teams.
Did you put the dogs underneath because you left ashamed of the dogs? Is that why they're underneath?
No, they're underneath because there's no buttons.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Timmy, man, go ahead.
The others pulled back so you can see it all the time.
Nice.
I do like black and white though. It kind of puts a perspective on life.
All right. Well, I had a lot of fun with you today, Timmy. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us, man. I even though you're a member of the Blackhawks, I don't consider this the Blackhawks episode. We just featured you today. I want to get the Blackhawks on here. I want to get Money Molly on here. I hear Molly is like Molly Fleming's one of the best spotters in the game these days. I'd like to get her on talking about some spotting, but I'll highlight your Blackhawks. But I wanted to get my boy Timmy on here. See if I can make you a fan of the darn show, man. There are 3 things going into this I thought I had in the bag. I was like, Timmy loves YouTube, Timmy loves beat ball, and Timmy loves me. But you haven't watched this show, not at all.
No, I've watched some of the shows. I just never watched a full episode.
Oh, you told me you were going to watch the Jeopardy episode. How'd that go?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I've been cutting limbs, man. I've been outside working.
Yeah, blah, blah. Save it for someone who cares.
Hey, Tim, I've been telling Neil to go watch an actual episode of Real Jeopardy. I'm sure he still hasn't done it. So, that's all good.
Well, there is that.
That's just for between us.
Let me say there is a deal for Microsoft's what is that? The one not projects, but one of the Microsoft where you do the presentations, and there's a rider that you can put in there that makes it into actual Jeopardy with all the different categories.
Oh, I got you.
That boxes.
That would great for all my blind audience.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's that communication with blind people again thing, Tim. You know?
Yeah.
In all fairness,
randomly touch the screen. There you go. All right, your question it is.
Good.
All right. Well,
guys, I miss y'all, man. I miss y'all terribly. I do. I miss
right back at you. Right back at you. Love you, dude. Love everybody for listening to the show. I appreciate it. Timmy, you don't know since you've never watched an episode, but I always end the show by saying goodnight to Seth and my Aunt Cindy. So if you could do us the honors, you got any party words, you could throw that out there. And if you could finish by saying goodnight to Aunt Cindy, that'd be beautiful.
You know, I met your mother, and she was a wonderful woman, and she made a wonderful person in you. And I miss you and your family, and Seth and his family. I didn't get to see the boy grow up. And Aunt Cindy, you have a good crew here. Watch over them. Good night.